Chairman, I'm allowed to ask a question.
I'm
of the witness.
excusing the witness.
I'm allowed to ask a question of the witness, Chairman.
Not right now. Ma'am, have a good day. Thank
That's
you.
literally my right as a legislator representing the 10th
You can say whatever
legislative
you
district.
want. I excuse the witness. It's my authority as committee chair.
What about the working class people in Brick and Toms River? Do they have the right to get
make any
questions
statement you
asked
want.
to people who are here protecting 900,000 people illegally, costing the state $7
The
billion
next
a year,
person
Chairman?
I'm going to call up, you're out of order.
The New Jersey Statehouse Watch is on. From Trenton, we explain what's happening inside the Statehouse, speaking directly with legislators, policymakers, and budget experts to bring you the facts behind the decisions.
There's no doubt that energy bills are about to skyrocket.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Through you, I would ask if the sponsor would yield for a
Madam
couple
Clerk, please have a machine for a vote.
Received 46 votes in the affirmative, 25 in the negative.
We break down bills as they move through the New Jersey legislature before they become law. With your hosts, Jack Brangan and Constance Stitzel.
And $300 million to Newark billionaires, that ain't cutting it for rural New Jersey.
So stick around. Here's Jack and Connie.
Good evening, everyone. This is Jack Brankin, and you have arrived here at the correct place. You're at the New Jersey Statehouse Watch, and I'm here with Constance Stitzel.
Hello.
Constance, how are you?
I'm great. We've been talking about this, doing this.
That's right. And we, in case you're wondering who that was in the beginning, that was Paul Kanitra. And we're going to be talking to Paul in just a few minutes. But the idea behind our podcast is we have a singular focus. We are going to focus on Trenton, New Jersey, and as the title suggests, the New Jersey Statehouse. And that means any of the bills that are going through, we're going to watch them and we're going to talk about them on our show. So you might be wondering how we ended up here. Constance, why don't you tell us a little bit about our history and how we ended up with
Right.
this show?
So why are we doing this show? Well, we both ran for assembly. And on the campaign trail, we learned that people didn't know so much. And we were once upon a time those people. We didn't know, for example, that for 20 years, we've had solid one-party rule in New Jersey. And that is basically who has determined our laws the way they're standing today. And we jumped in the race because we were being involved ourselves at school boards. We were going to school board meetings and we started to learn, hey, everything's happening in Trenton. There's not so much we could do here. So we would go to Trenton after we were going to school board meetings, and there we started meeting other folks who were doing the same. Many people can go for public comment, but in particular, we met some real great advocates of really wonderful organizations, wonderful assembly people, senators, and these are the people we want to interview.
That's right. So every show that we have, there will be a guest that will be on the program. It will be someone that is involved, let's say a policymaker in Trenton, so it'll be the assembly person or maybe a leading activist. And we've actually booked the first 4 guests, which we'll review right now because I think you'll want to tune into some of these shows. Of course, tonight we're going to be talking with Paul Kanitra, who happens to be an assemblyman from Legislative District Number 10. We're going to spend half an hour with him. Coming up on March 24th is going to be Sean Hyland. Now, Sean Hyland happens to be a leading parental rights advocate here in New Jersey. He heads up the Family Policy Center. So we're going to cover a lot of topics with Sean that will affect your school system, any school district in the state. Other topics maybe might touch upon abortion and things like that. With regard to parental rights, it's not only Sean's organization, but there is New Jersey Stands Up. This is another great organization in New Jersey. Garden State Families with Greg Quinlan. He often testifies in New Jersey. And Moms for Liberty of New Jersey is another one. All of these organizations, if they are in your community, you should be grateful because they are the ones watching the Board of Education. Mm-hmm. And believe me, the boards need to be watched. And again, the risk with the Board of Education emanates out of Trenton. So, as Constance mentioned, we've had 25 years of a single party, which happens to be pretty much the Democratic Party for the past 25 years. And the Democratic Party has shaped so many of our laws, good and bad, right here in New Jersey.
We're also going to talk to a couple other people. And by the way, everything we're talking about, these are current bills. These are fresh right out of the gate. We're going to talk to Melanie Dragone. She's with New Jersey Public Health Innovation. You might know them as FIPAC if you've heard that acronym. You may not know that New Jersey Department of Health is going to be determining now the vaccine schedule moving forward. They've kind of pulled it out from underneath federal. So they want to do it here in New Jersey. This will mean any of you MAHA people that are concerned about medical freedom, you'll definitely want to tune into Melanie. They were a grassroots organization, and they're doing phenomenal, calling attention, going to Trenton too, and calling attention to what's going on health-wise.
Yeah, all these organizations have been growing.
Yeah, they've all been growing in the past few years. And then we're going to have another great assembly person, Dawn Fantasia.
Right.
She hits all the topics we've talked about and more. We haven't set our agenda as to what we'll be talking about with her, but we know it'll be relevant, we know it'll be current, and we know it'll be direct and without shame. So Dawn has been someone we've been happy to follow.
Yeah, I would say these are all great guests, and there'll be great discussions. I would jot Dawn's name down because she's going to be someone to reckon with on the against the Democrats.
Yep.
She's a great leader and fighter for all of us here in the state of New Jersey. But our topic tonight is New Jersey as a sanctuary state, and we're going to get into the interview with Paul momentarily. But I'm not sure that people are aware that there are close to 1 million illegal aliens now. This discussion is, we are not saying that there's anything wrong with these people. I'm sure they're very nice people, but they are unaccounted for and unplanned for in the state. And close to 1 million, and Paul's going to dive into that. But based on his numbers, New Jersey would have the highest per capita number of illegal aliens in the country. So we have a state of about 10 million people.
And a lot of people don't know this has been the Immigrant Trust Directive, which made us a sanctuary state since 2018. This isn't new. You're going to hear about it being codified into law. So maybe we should stop there.
Yeah. So I think Paul will be up in a minute, and we're going to cut for a commercial. And as soon as the commercial is back, we'll be talking to Paul Kanitra. So stick around.
Great. Thanks.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up. Because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. But America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. The New Jersey Statehouse Watch, hosted by Jack Brangan and Constance Detzel. APN's The Pulse is moderated by either Alexandra, Damon, Elena, or Seth. Also tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X, Rumble, Truth Social, Parler, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Join the revolution because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
Okay, Constance, we are back. And just as a reminder, in case people have forgotten, we did lose our last election just a little while ago.
In case they forgot.
in case you've forgotten. But people should not despair because we have a great team that's in the assembly. And keep in mind, after the midterms, we go right into the assembly election. So we get to redo all the 40 assembly seats again. So there is a light at the end of this tunnel.
Right.
In the assembly right now, we have people like Dawn Fantasia, Mike Gannemort, Jerry Scharfenberger, Vicki Flynn. These are all folks that are going to battle for us, on our behalf. And then we have people that are online. Mike Curry, he's doing an interview. All of us are trying to get information out to the people on what's going on in Trenton, because as we found out when we did our campaign, people just don't know.
They don't have a clue. They don't know what the assembly is.
Right. So our guest today, Paul Kanitra, is one of the leading voices right in with this crowd. And Mr. Producer, maybe you can bring Paul out into the sunlight here from the green room. Paul, how you doing?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Good. So, Paul, we want to introduce Paul Kanitra to the audience. Who you are, what district do you represent, how in the world did you ever end up into the assembly? And then we're going to veer into the subject here. We'll talk about illegal immigration, what the impact is on the citizens of New Jersey. So let's talk about your district. What was your road up to becoming assemblyman?
All right. Well, I'll give you a little bit of background on Paul Kanitra. Besides being young and such dashingly good looks, I started in Point Pleasant Beach, which is my hometown, where my story started. And I didn't like the direction that things were going. Point Pleasant Beach is a great town, but it certainly had some problems a couple of years back. So I got onto the council, and I was fighting to clean up the town and to have a little bit tougher stance on some of the crimes that were occurring on our beach and boardwalk, and some of the craziness going on up there. And wound up running against a Republican mayor in a primary election, and won by 20 points in that primary. We did a lot of great work here. As crazy as it was, my term started and COVID started almost immediately. So we were trying to find ways to help our business community despite, some of the limitations on there. And we still implemented all of our plans. And, we brought the town back to the family-friendly place that it always was. But the things that frustrated me the most as mayor of Point Pleasant Beach were the things that were bigger than this town and that were happening in Trenton. We started to see the offshore wind fight. We started to see how juveniles weren't facing any repercussions for their actions, and how pop-up parties were starting to spread across the state of New Jersey. And opportunity to jump into the state assembly came up. Once again, I wasn't picked. I wasn't the guy. I didn't get the screening committee recommendation, and I went out on a floor fight, and I was the first person in 30 years to win on the floor of the Ocean County Convention without the screening committee nomination again. And as you guys, as we've all worked together over the last couple of years, my first term was focused on parental rights and a lot of freedoms, and making sure that Trenton wasn't overstepping and overreaching on what they were doing. And there's a lot of extreme stuff coming out of there, and now we're starting our second term, and here we go.
Yeah, that's great.
Great.
You may know that Constance and I also ran for assembly, and we sort of had the same feeling, because we were going to our school boards and we would get our 3 minutes at the podium. And after a while, it became a little frustrating that, okay, even with a victory, you're only going to flip one school district. And there's 600 school districts in the state that if you really want to make change in New Jersey, you really have to go to Trenton.
So we started going to Trenton, and that led us to both of us throwing our hats in the ring, because we got to Trenton, and then we saw what you guys were doing there, and we said, this is where it's all happening.
Yeah.
This is the heartbeat. Yeah. People are worried about federal issues. That's vital, but they don't know what's going on in their own backyard with it. And so our purpose, as we mentioned in our beginning of our segment, is to illuminate.
So with if going to the illegal immigration and the effect on the taxpayer, before we get into these bills, right, and we'll explain these bills, I think we need to get a sense of the scope, the breadth, the depth of the number of immigrants, what is the impact? And I got the first inkling from a report that you produced back in 2024. And Mr. Producer, maybe you can put up the.
Look at that. That's professional.
Okay, so you're probably familiar with this. And I also spoke to Todd Lund, and he explained to me that he actually did most of the work, right?
My idea, my direction, his research and writing.
Right. So I wanted to put this up because we're going to talk about this for a few minutes, but I want viewers to look at the title of this report and go Google it. This is your homework assignment. Anybody listening to this, Google this report and get familiar with, the number of illegal aliens that are in New Jersey. The number that you quote in this report is actually at a time when there was still 6 months of the Biden administration in office. So whatever number you quote here, it's actually larger, because there was still 6 months to go. And I think you took a conservative report. So if we could take a look at page 2, we'll see some of those numbers.
What was the response when you first presented this, Paul?
Look, it had nationwide acclaim. I think people hadn't seen a substantive, well-researched report that highlighted the detrimental effects to a specific state like ours. And it wasn't just thrown together. Not only did I do a border trip down to Mexico and to Eagle Pass and talk with Texas DPS and Border Patrol agents and even people crossing the border, but then we came back and we researched the hell out of everything for another couple of months. And the data that we put forth is very sound. We were very conservative in our estimates. We believe that there's 900,000 illegal aliens in New Jersey, and obviously more now because that report was done before the Biden administration finished. And it's costing the state roughly $7 billion, which breaks down to, about $1,600 for every legal taxpayer in the state of New Jersey. It's astronomical. And right now, Governor Sherrill came out a couple of weeks ago and admitted what we've all known for forever, that they have a $4 billion budget deficit. And they're going to try and do all this crazy stuff. I bet you they come after pensions, and they come after our cops, and they come after our firefighters, and they come after our schools again and cut more dollars there. And they're going to do all this nutty crap that is wholly unnecessary if they just got rid of the individuals that don't belong here, that jump the line over people who want to be here legally and are trying to migrate to this country legally, and aren't going to be as drain on the society.
Yeah, Mr. Producer, bring up the next page, please.
Page 2.
Page 2. That's what he just cited, $7.3 billion. You know these figures by the back of your hand. 894,000. That was in May. So when we're telling people on the campaign, we're like at $1 million. That is not an exaggeration because, like you said, this is before Biden exited. Now, when you say 1,600 per worker, do you mean per taxpayer?
Yeah, per person contributing to the system that's a legal resident.
So you work that out to be $2,300 per household.
That's amazing. This is hard cash that people need. People are struggling in this state. Not only people working, but people on fixed income. This hits them as well too. $2,100 per household. That's money. That's groceries. When you put the increase in electricity, gas, New Jersey slowly becomes, a difficult state to live in.
And if you invert the equation, so that's what percentage of our population? Like a 10%, 12%?
About 1 out of every 10 people walking around on the streets of New Jersey are illegal.
Wow.
Right.
Mr. Producer, throw up the next page 3 we have on this. Now, I don't know if what the viewers can read here.
I think the viewers can see it.
You think so? The total, can you see the total? We've got $7.3 billion. That's the figure you just saw.
Yep.
So now you see at the end $7.3 billion. And what Paul has here is the sums that get to that. There's some that jump out immediately. The first is college grants open to illegal aliens. Now that's only, what is it, 5 million or 500?
5 million.
5 million, quote,
Yeah.
only. But still, how many hardworking people are trying to put their kids through college? And here we have college grants for illegal aliens. Amazing. You've got some others for K through 12 education on here. Could you comment on those? Those are huge numbers, Paul. Huge.
Well, look, every step we tried to take a conservative one, right? What that doesn't go into, and there's some things that are harder to quantify. The fact that you need additional help in classrooms, and the classrooms are less efficient now because teachers are either having to have translators in the classrooms, or they even in some cases have these electronic boxes that translate. So then they have to speak into the box, wait for the box to translate it back, wait for the student to respond, come back and forth. It makes learning less efficient, and it makes, regular, legal residents here in New Jersey, they're getting a lower quality of education as a result of it. And look, there's other things that are hard to quantify, like the amount of illegals that use emergency rooms as their primary care facility. And then that cost has to get spread to the rest of us. Imagine the housing situation. What would happen for lower income individuals who are just struggling to pay the rent or to buy a basic place to live if 900,000 people were taken out of the housing equation? Those costs would plummet as well. It has so many far-reaching implications that the average person doesn't understand. It's staggering.
Yeah, but the education was by far the biggest number in here. 5 billion of that 7 is going for the education.
And some of these are a bit maddening. Here's the legal services for aliens facing deportation. So we're paying the legal fees for illegal aliens to stay in New Jersey.
Yeah.
We had a guy come in who represented one of the nonprofits that does that, and they had 20 or 30 lawyers on their staff. And he admitted right there in the Statehouse that they get most of their money from the state of New Jersey, and that their whole mission is to keep people from getting deported. And I asked him, do you believe that anybody should be deported? And he started to say no. And the chairman of the committee cut off the microphone because he didn't want that to go out into the public sphere.
Well, we're going to keep moving on with our time, looking at the clock here. Anyway, we refer to this report all the time, and anyone who's listening, this is several pages. This isn't just the ones we're showing you. Several pages, he explains how he arrived at his figures, just like he was now. And then at the end of the legislative calendar, we started seeing some sanctuary bills coming through. One that Governor Murphy passed. Now, we're going to let you get to all 3 of them. There's several, but one Murphy did sign. He didn't sign the other ones, but he did sign one. And this was codified as law. This was 6308, I guess it was. It protects people in critical services, in need of critical services like schools, hospitals, places of worship, shelters. He signed this one. Could you tell us a little bit about that bill?
Well, look, the governor is trying to placate his base. And you ask yourself, why does this administration, why does the leadership in Trenton not do more about this? And there's 900,000 people out there. The first and most important thing is that they're all counted in the census. And they're giving Democrats about 4 extra assembly seats and 2 extra congressional seats. So all of this is planned to essentially prohibit people from working with law enforcement, from identifying individuals, from federal law enforcement getting any kind of important information that would help them in their process. And that's the crux of it. But the 2 bills that were pocket vetoed are even more telling, because despite all of this pandering, and despite the fact that they want everybody to stay here so badly, the governor pocket vetoed 2 bills because he didn't think that they would pass constitutional muster. He thought the one bill codifying the AG sanctuary state status was too overreaching and in conflict with federal law. And we brought up an oversight that they didn't recognize, that the second bill prohibiting the sharing of information, actual data, would notify an illegal if the federal government was investigating them. And it would let them know, oh, by the way, the federal government is looking for you. You might want to ditch your car or ditch the license plate.
Crazy.
It's incomprehensible, if you ask me. And since then, obviously, we have the one new bill that they moved through committee, along with the other two at the beginning of this year, and two other nutty bills that have been introduced on top of that.
Yeah. So we're gonna walk through each one of those.
Okay.
That you talked about. The one that was signed into law, that was the Safe Communities Act.
Correct.
Right.
Always has a cute, emotionally pulling on your heartstrings name.
Say right.
You can always just rule of thumb is whatever it is saying, it's actually doing the opposite. If it came from Democrats, but this law, in essence, is sort of putting up a wall around physical locations, whether it's courthouses, jails, that sort of thing.
And the one thing that I didn't say earlier is the irony in that bill, because essentially what it is doing is it's creating borders that they say law enforcement can't cross, when the people that are inside these borders are the people who didn't respect our own country's borders and came here illegally when they weren't allowed to cross things.
It's really good.
Now we're protecting them by making new borders so they don't have to face the repercussions of their own actions.
Yeah. There's an irony to each one of these bills that we'll go through here. Now, the reason we're going through these is because this will codify New Jersey being a sanctuary city. We've been under the Immigrant Trust Directive since 2018, which is a directive out of the Attorney General's office, but this is going to make it public law. The second one that we wanted to talk about was the Privacy Protection Act, and this is the one I think you were just referring to here, where if ICE has a target that they're trying to go after, your local police, if they catch his information from the license plate and they are forced by a judicial warrant to hand the information over to ICE, this is stepping through the looking glass of the Democrats' world. They have 60 days, the local police force has 60 days to contact that perpetrator and inform him that ICE is tracking him. So this is unbelievable.
What a bizarre world we live in now. Who would have ever thought that we would be here 30 years ago?
And Murphy deliberately did not sign that bill, like you said. So they reintroduced it, right?
Yeah. It is reintroduced. Now, the sum total of all this, when you think of it from a public safety standpoint, the first one hinders ICE agents from going into certain buildings. Actually, when they enter those buildings, the employees are not permitted to assist in any way. They must immediately go brain dead and not assist in any way. Here, we're contacting the perpetrator to notify them when ICE is after him. Each one of these degrades public safety.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about the results of that at the end of this, because there are some heartbreaking stories that are the direct result of these policies. So as we go through, we're going to see that everyone hinders police, and it hinders state police, it hinders the federal agents from tracking down some of the worst criminals that you can imagine. Many of these are, as you know, predators, murderers, rapists, child predators. It's just unbelievable. This next one has to do with facial consents.
Yes, what is this? This requires law enforcement officer to reveal facial identity during certain public interactions and to present sufficient identification prior to arresting or detaining person. So while they're dealing with someone unwieldy and maybe some unwieldy situation, they have to stop, provide their identity. And the way I read this, law enforcement, that could be local police as well. Now this is on the books for local, state police, everyone. What do you make of this one? This is a new Cheryl one, right? This is a brand new one.
they're just trying to find different ways to handcuff law enforcement, and they're blind to the fact that people are out there trying to dox law enforcement, that they're trying to come to their houses and threaten their families, that they're releasing lists of names and addresses. These people are under attack. One of the reasons that they have to wear masks is because of how crazy the progressive left has gotten and how much progressive left governments are protecting them. You know, if there weren't crazed protesters out there attacking law enforcement, these people wouldn't need to do that in the first place. So, like everything Democrats do, they create the problem and then they make it worse.
This law, the way it's written, really doesn't specify ICE. So I was listening to the committee hearing. I think it was in the Judiciary Senate side. And I believe it was the head of the New Jersey State Police was testifying saying, look, there are cases here where we need to wear masks. First of all, if you're on a motorcycle, if you're a motorcycle officer and it's December, you know, we want a mask. He wants a change in the law. There were other cases when they do a drug bust, you know, similar to what ICE agents are doing. Now, nowhere have I ever heard anybody complain about the local police force and their masks or the state police. The problem I have with this bill, this was a bill written to hurt Donald Trump. This was written to hurt the ICE agents, and it was written in such a broad manner that it swept in the New Jersey State Police, your local municipal police, really by mistake. And I think this is really about the ICE agents. This is where this was targeted. And to me, this was a Trump derangement syndrome bill where they really wanted to do something to Trump and make a statement against ICE. Mm-hmm. But it was not written that way. You know, it's not a bill that ever should have seen the light of day in my mind. That this was horrible. So our last one here.
I was going to say, before we go to the last one, the big one that's going to codify into law, because this also leads to something I think you want to bring up. The atmosphere in the assembly room when this is going on, unless somebody is there or tunes in on and watches on the stream, it is incredible to watch. I think on January 5th, they passed some 132 bills. But beyond that sheer magnitude, they would introduce a bill. You got up with some posters. You had an amendment, I think, to the bill. It was very salient, as well presented. You show these posters, they immediately cut you off, table it, to table the motion, vote the bill in. There's not even any kind of credence given to rational suggestion or even comment. And I remember, and I think even Jack was commenting because he has a whole list. Tell us what was on those posters.
Well, we had one poster that simply reminded everybody that there was a federal program that could bring everybody back home to reunite with their families. Because one of the things that they were talking about is the effects of families on this, and nobody ever talks about what the illegal immigrants subject their own kids to during this journey. They basically turn their kids over to drug mules and human traffickers, where they're all given a wristband. There's a ton of sexual assault, violent assault as they cross these countries. They have to cross deserts. Many people die of dehydration and starvation on the journey. Then they try and cross the Rio Grande. Many people drown in the Rio Grande. To me, that's not good parenting. But they're always talking, and a lot of times kids are used as kind of like a bargaining chip to help make single males look like they're a family unit so they can get across the border and garner more sympathy or asylum status. So nobody talks about that component, and they were harping on about how this breaks up families. And I said the best way to reunite families is to take advantage of the federal program that gives everybody a couple $1,000 and free airfare home. And that was one of my posters. And then one of the other posters highlighted some of the total degenerates that ICE was lucky enough to detain despite all the barriers against them. And they were child predators and murderers and habitual offenders. And the Democrats didn't want to talk about that, nor did they want to talk about my other poster that talked about Maria Plaitas right here from Ocean County, who was a legal immigrant who did things the right way and had a beautiful young daughter. And her daughter were murdered in a vehicle by a drunk driver who had an assault record, multiple DUIs in the past, should have been deported multiple times, but our great AG Platkin saw fit not to do that, and we had somebody who was really the symbol of doing it the right way who got taken from us, and you highlight that hypocrisy, they don't like it.
Yeah.
I always wondered about the child trafficking. If you have close to 1 million illegal aliens coming in to the state, where are the children? I mean, how many children were handed over to traffickers? And I don't know that there's any of those numbers. I've never seen them.
Well, during the Trump administration, they quantified that there were hundreds of thousands of missing children. They set up a hotline so that people could tackle that situation. There was only one person that worked at the hotline. They lost track of all these kids. And the Trump administration has been working to identify them and reunite them. But they get lost track of because they're brought into human trafficking. They're brought into abhorrent sexual situations, and they're used time and time again to cross the border with different groups.
Well, how else can they travel a number of miles? I mean, this costs money. So these people are paying money either in labor or in sex slaves or in children and all of the above.
Yeah.
So
that bill about sharing the data, the license plate data, and things of that nature. All that information sharing has gone a long way in solving problems. For investigations, it is the sharing of data between agencies, that solve these crimes. And I know during the 80s and the 90s, the big complaint was the FBI was not sharing their data with the state police. State police was not sharing with the local municipal police. And there was time, money, data systems that were upgraded and changed, to provide feeds between. So there was sharing of data. And now this bill ends it. This bill directly is going to impact investigations. Every one of these bills is going to make it harder and harder for police to do their jobs. So
there we have, looking forward in a negative way to this coming into law. Now, you're doing something about that. Tell us about this vote is going to happen, we think, on March 23rd. What's going on March 23rd then?
Look, we are trying to fight back. I mean, whenever you see any kind of public organized rally, it's generally bought and paid for nonprofits who are getting money from our government, and everybody there is paid to be there. We decided that the New Jersey residents who believe in law and order and doing things the right way deserve a voice too. So we're going to hold a rally on the steps of the Statehouse Annex. We assume that the bills will be brought up on March 23rd at the next voting session, but the Democrats generally only release the bills a couple days before, and then just the night before, the night before that, they put the most controversial ones on. So you never have enough time to fully prepare, but regardless, we know they're out there. So at 11 a.m., on March 23rd, we're going to be up there. We're going to be up there with some angel moms who have family members that they lost as a result of illegal immigrant crime. We're going to be up there with Numbers USA. Anybody ever remembers the gumball example that the guy gave about how many people in need there are in the world and how few people we could actually take sustainably in the United States? They're going to be talking about some of the data. We've got some great legislators that are going to be up there joining us as well. And we're expecting 100+ people from across the state who are just fed up to come out there at 11 a.m. and speak loudly with us. And we're excited about that because it's about time that common sense people stood up for themselves.
Listeners, come join us. You have a petition also, don't you? There's 6,500 I saw today signing a petition, 6,500 signatures you have.
We do. And we only put it on just about a week or so ago. It's already taken off. So if you can't make it out to the rally, the petition is change.org/vote no, send them home. So it's change.org/vote no, send them home. And you can speak with a loud voice there. And I know that for a fact that Speaker Coughlin is getting updates every couple thousand people that sign up to that.
So people should understand here. I mean, we've talked a lot about the financial impact, and you've alluded to the angel moms that will be at the rally. These atrocities, these murders and rapes, they are not a one-off or one or two. There is a long list, laundry list of heinous crimes that have been committed by illegal aliens on our Jersey neighbors.
Well, let me explain that situation. I don't think everybody gets it. Okay, first of all, we don't know who most of these illegal immigrants are. Okay, when you come across the border, you have the people that get apprehended, and then what they call the gotaways. Okay,
right.
Basically, both groups ditch all their identification, their driver's licenses, passports, everything gets ditched in the desert. So then when they finally do get caught, whether it's at the border or months later by law enforcement somewhere along the way, their name is simply whatever name that they give law enforcement. We have no idea if in Honduras or El Salvador or Italy or Germany, wherever the heck they come from, we have no idea who they are and what criminal history they have. Then, when they come to this country, obviously because they're here illegally, there are severe detriments in terms of people actually reporting crime. So if you have spousal abuse, for instance, it's drastically underreported because they know that people will get sent home. But then, on top of that, whenever people try to tell you that illegal immigrants commit crime at any kind of lower rate, that is patently false. What really happens is they get convicted at a much, much lower rate with much, much lower offenses because the county prosecutors are put in place by the governor. They're their appointee. And they know that at a certain threshold, a certain level of crime, it triggers an automatic deportation for which then ICE can come in or the state then has to get rid of them based on their own laws. So they constantly are plea bargaining down the crime that these people commit, and it shows up as a lesser crime than really was committed.
Yeah, wholesale deception.
Yep.
You know, all of the data around illegal aliens, I think the Democrats, they do their best in the darkness and in obfuscation to keep things confused. And so you never hear, if it wasn't for your report, you probably would not have ever known about any of these. So yeah, there's a list of here, these are crimes that's, I'll skip them because they're really too upsetting to go through, because a lot of these crimes are against children, preteens, and they were all preventable. And one was the murder of a mother and her two children. So this was in Jersey City. You just don't hear about these things. And as you mentioned, there was the lady in the automobile accident, and that little girl that died. There was a picture of her. She looked like an angel. You know, this is just every single one of these were preventable. So,
and we just have a few more minutes, and this pertains. Maybe you can give us a one-liner. Jack and I went to a seminar yesterday, the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking, and this is a big deal in New Jersey. It's a big deal around the country, and it does kind of somewhat pertain to this issue of where are these children gone that are coming across or trying to come into the country. What is the bill you're looking at? You want to give us a quick one-liner on it or so?
Well, I have a bill, Assembly Bill, and it increases the penalties for human trafficking of children. And the slant is, look, everybody is against human trafficking. At least they say they are against human trafficking. But this bill brings in the irony of all the human trafficking that's going on in the illegal immigration trade and undercuts that and tries to tackle that and address that as well, because it's a dirty little secret that nobody wants to pay attention to. And those kids are just as important, and their violations that they're experiencing are just as important as anybody else out there.
Yeah. So what's the schedule here in terms of the vote? I know is there a vote coming up in the Assembly and the Senate? And what's the timeline when these bills get to the governor's desk?
Well, the bills already came through my law and public safety and preparedness, and they tried to have them on the agenda right before the blizzard, and they got yanked because they shut the government down. So
Right.
since they're already showing that this is a top priority of the new governor and of the new session of the legislature, we anticipate that we're going to see them up soon. But this might not be the end of it. We have some far left progressive, Mom Donnie-like people that have been elected to the legislature recently. One of them made a bill that was cutesily titled the FUCK-ICE bill. As crude as it comes, that tries to further restrain law enforcement and says law enforcement can be prosecuted. And then just the other day, another lunatic bill came out that said that now people who own any kind of rental property will not be able to disclose if the people that live there are illegal. So let's just say I have a rental house, or let's say I have a rental apartment building, and I know that there's illegals living in there, and I find out, I will be held liable if I go to law enforcement and say that. They're doing everything they can to try and protect these people who committed misdemeanors and felonies by coming into our country, and it is abhorrent, and at some point, they all need to pay for it.
Right. We're going to have to wrap up. And I don't know if you want to add anything. I don't want to miss people hearing how they can reach you. I know all over social media where they can listen up to what's going on. You want to give us a couple of your handles?
Sure. I'm all over the place. You can find me with Assemblyman Paul Kanitra on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Assemblyman Paul. I'm on TikTok and X with Vote Kanitra. And, we've got a great following, and we put a lot of content up. And, we're not fence sitters, in the 10th Legislative District. We're out there working, and everybody can see it.
Appreciate it. We appreciate it a lot. We've been some of those sessions, and we've watched them online, too. Anything else you want to add, Jack?
Well, yeah, I don't want to just bring bad news here, in this podcast. The bottom line here, if you want to fix any of this, if any of the listeners want to fix this, you must vote Republicans into office. Yeah. This is not going to be fixed by the Democratic Party. They are the ones keeping things, and nothing's going to change as long as Democrats keep getting elected. So, but we'll keep fighting. But at the end of the day, when you're into that voting booth, you got to go Republican if you want the money start going back to your family. That's really, and also greater protections for your family. That's really what it boils down to. So, Paul, thank you so much for your time. This was great.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'll see you real soon.
We'll see you in Assembly.
We'll see you there. Okay.
Hey, it's great to be on with you. This is a great podcast. It's a lot of fun, and it's informative, and it's real information. It's none of the frills and none of the nonsense that you hear on the legacy media. Just telling the story of what's happening right now. It's what I do with my newsletter that I get out to anybody who wants to see it. It's what you're doing with this podcast. America needs to know what the real deal is, and you're the real deal.
Thank you, Paul Kanitra. That was a great interview. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I just want to remind everyone on the 23rd is going to be his rally.
I will be there.
Yeah. So if there's any way that you can make it, there's going to be a lot of people there, a lot of groups, and it's all about these 4 sanctuary state laws. And some of the speakers, a few of them are going to be what they call angel moms. And these are mothers or families that have lost children in the hands of illegal immigrants that should not have been in the United States, nor should they have been in New Jersey. Now, originally, I think we had mentioned that the Immigrant Trust Directive was put out by the Attorney General in 2018. All of these bills will codify it whenever the governor signs it. However, right after 2018 and 2019, some very bad crimes started happening because these individuals should not have been in the state of New Jersey, and they were in New Jersey specifically because of the breakdown in communication that all these laws are touching upon between law enforcement and tracking these folks down. In Jersey City, in March of 2019, they found a woman's body in Lincoln Park in a lake. She died from strangulation and water submersion. The ICE reported the defendant who did this was in the United States illegally and had previously been deported twice. So had it not been for the Immigrant Trust Directive, this person might have been somewhere else, not in New Jersey. And this murder could have been avoided. In 2025 in Jersey City, a mother, a 5-year-old son, and a 9-year-old daughter, all three were stabbed to death. You probably didn't hear this because the Democrats don't like these headlines. So I'm going to repeat that. The mother was stabbed to death. The 5-year-old son was stabbed to death. The 9-year-old daughter was stabbed to death. ICE stated that the suspect was in the United States unlawfully. He is Mexican. He should have been in Mexico, not in Jersey City. In Monmouth County in August of 2025, I remember this past summer, an illegal alien from Mexico was driving intoxicated, crossed the center line, and hit head on where a mother and her 11-year-old daughter were driving. Both of them were killed. And if you saw a picture of this little girl, she was just an angel. This never should have happened. This guy should have been in Mexico. It was the Immigrant Trust Directive and the Democratic Party behind this that allowed this situation to happen, that allowed this person to be in New Jersey. These 4 laws, if they get signed in, if the governor signs this, and we hope that she does not sign these, it will not stop this. It's going to cause this to continue on. So I'm not finished. Don't look away or anything. You have to hear these crimes. In Vineland, New Jersey, 2019, aggravated sexual assault on a 13-year-old girl. ICE Newark identified the suspect as a Mexican national in the United States unlawfully. In March 2021, Plainfield, defendant was charged with aggravated sexual assault on a 10-year-old boy. This was a Honduran national unlawfully present in the United States. December 2021 in Hackensack, New Jersey, repeated sexual assault on a minor. The defendant was charged with first-degree aggravated sexual assault on a preteen girl. The ICE identified the defendant as a Guatemalan national in the United States illegally here in New Jersey because of the Immigrant Trust Directive and courtesy of the Democratic Party. In Camden, sexual assault of a minor. The defendant charged with sexual assault of a 12-year-old girl and endangering the welfare of a child. ICE reported the defendant was a Honduran national unlawfully present in the United States, courtesy of the Immigrant Trust Directive and the New Jersey Democratic Party. In New Brunswick, sexual assault of a minor. The defendant was charged with aggravated sexual assault of an 11-year-old girl. ICE identified the defendant as a Mexican national unlawfully present in the United States, brought to you by the Immigrant Trust Directive and the New Jersey Democratic Party. These are adults raped, bodies mutilated, murdered by illegal aliens that should have never been in this state. It was only because of the Immigrant Trust Directive. We have children where they had their innocence just brutally robbed from them in the most violent manner. We are asking the governor not to sign these bills for the sake of the safety. Each one of these bills reduces the safety here in Jersey. I also want to point out very quickly, you have to wonder where these bills come from. It's not just the Democratic Party. All of these bills are sponsored by Democrats. There are no Republicans assigned onto these bills. But the same names show up. Ellen Park, Annette Quijano, Verlina Reynolds Jackson. So these names are on here, as well as Louis Greenwald is on another one. So why don't we, our message here is to the governor, we'll leave it at this point, but our message to the governor is please do not sign these bills. And let's talk about a more pleasant topic and talk about some of our guests that are coming up.
Well, we thought we would take 5 minutes to at least tell you there are other bills going on that need your attention. Today, 2 p.m., Governor Sherrill spoke about the budget.
That's right.
There's a lot to be said about that. We don't have all the skinny on it. We do know the budget's been increased $1 to $2 billion. And remember, in what we heard tonight, that there's $7 billion that's going towards illegals. That's right. So just to give you an idea of how much that's chomping away at our budget, we figure it's about 12%. So there's that. There's the issue with the budget. In fact, Senator Bucco said recently at a meeting we were at that at the end of the last legislative session, they spent down $128 million that was left in the budget. They didn't have to spend it, but they did because it was there. And then they started the new year with $8 million short for homeless services. So homeless programs are short $8 million. And Senator Bucco, he was furious. He said he couldn't believe it because what they spent in that $128 million, he did not find worth it. So we're going to talk about the budget coming up. We're going to talk about next time Sean Hyland, who's with the Family Policy Center. He's going to be talking about these abortion-related bills that were just discussed yesterday in a Senate committee. I'll just rattle off the titles. Provides certain deceptive practices in advertising of pregnancy-related services or healthcare service that violate consumer fraud. This has to do with a lawsuit that General Platkin has against a pregnancy resource center, saying that they false advertised. There's another bill. Enters New Jersey into a women's reproductive health care compact with other state. Again, these cozy little words, reproductive health care. It's anything but reproduction, right? Then they have protects access to assisted reproductive technology. Reproductive technology, I would assume, means abortion. They have establishes reproductive health travel advisory. This is coming up. This was carried over from the last session, where they're going to have a color system to, if you travel to another state, you should be warned that you may not get the help you want if you're traveling to another state. So they're going to have blue for exercise caution, yellow for exercise increased caution, and red for reconsider travel. Right. So we've got a stoplight little plan there. And then I won't go into the last one. That's a little bit longer to rattle off. But anyway, Sean's going to deal with these. He's going to talk about that. He's also going to talk about Supreme Court case and money awarded pertaining to a gender-affirming care for minors. It's kind of a big deal. There's a big award for someone who detransitioned. And he will also talk about some of the large American Medical Association, Pediatric Association, who are backing down on the recommendations for gender-affirming care. Again, a cozy word for minors.
Yeah, so Mr. Producer, maybe you can put up the
yes.
our
quick shot. There's Sean coming up the first slide. You'll meet Sean Hyland on March 24th, I guess it is.
It's March 24th at 7:30. I should note that if you know someone that missed the podcast tonight, the podcast can be downloaded on Apple, Amazon, or Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
And don't forget, you can hear it live on America's Pulse Network, and you can hear it live on our website, njstatehousewatch.com. So we've given you every avenue to find us. Right. If you can't find us, it's on you.
Yeah, so Sean is going to be the 24th. Melanie, this is all going to be about MAHA and your health. If you are interested in the health of your family and your own health, I would say you want to hear that podcast. That's April 14th. And then, of course, Dawn Fantasia is going to be on the 28th. So remember, we are on Tuesdays the second and the fourth Tuesday of every month. Or you can download the podcasts.
Well, thank you. Tell your friends to tune in and let us know what you think. I think there's a way to get back to America's Pulse Network. If not, we will give you a handle to respond in the next podcast.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be looking forward to Sean on the 24th.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for joining us on the New Jersey Statehouse Watch. Join Jack Brangan and Constance Ditzel every second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. Watch the show live at njstatehousewatch.com or listen anytime. Download the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next time on the New Jersey Statehouse Watch.